Okay, so cool. So this is what we are going for. Um, we're gonna start out literally just with drawing cubes. Okay, so you can see this kind of as a warm up, but we just want to start out with cubes like this, and we don't want to draw just one cube, right? So it's like see it as like you're exploring the three-dimensional space. Okay, so I mean I've got a cube here. Maybe I want to draw another one, but the angle is slightly different. Like okay, this cube I can see. I've got this face here. This one is at the back, but in this case, I've got this face facing forward. Or maybe it's like coming out towards me. I've got the cube here. This is kind of, we're going more into a 2-point perspective sort of a thing. Okay, so and then just like sort of have fun with it and kind of see how many cubes you can draw, and maybe I want to see the bottom of this cube. So in this case, I'm still thinking about the horizon line based off our perspective lesson that's here. So if the horizon line's here, I can still see the top. Let's say I want to see a cube from the bottom. I want you guys to really spend time, like realizing that this is, it's a challenge in itself, so I'm seeing the bottom of that. Maybe if I want to see the angle even more slight. So I don't know if you've watched Kim Jung Ji draw, but he just like really understands three-dimensionality really well. And it's just, I love how the first thing he'll do is just like put a box there, and then his head is sort of like in the perspective mode. It's like, okay, we're looking down at this. So this is kind of including camera angles as well. Maybe I want to see this side of the box, so I can just put that. Okay, and then I want you guys to spend some time doing this, and then we will move on to doing cylinders. But remember, like the same with the box, is we can start out drawing a cylinder. Okay, so we've got a cylinder here. It's nice to put a dot, like modern day James did, and then there's another dot there, and then that's coming out, and then maybe I want the cylinder to be facing towards me. So I can just see the back part peeking out. And I don't know if you remember in one point, remember it's receding, so it's getting smaller. It's not like isometric where the thing doesn't gradually fade away. So remember, like this is for shortening. So if I want to like draw an arm or foreshorten an arm, this is kind of the way that I would do it. Okay. So I want you guys to just start off with drawing cubes, okay? Different types of cubes, really focusing on their three-dimensionality. If you want to draw, they don't have to be like perfect cubes. If you want to draw like thin slices like that, or maybe you want to draw it sort of like this, one that's on the ground. And I want you guys to just like spend some time, fill a whole page of just cubes and cylinders. Okay, and then we're gonna move on to a different exercise later, of just how to combine these two together. But really see this as like a warm up. Okay, so we just want to warm up, and feel free, like don't be too pedantic or too like precious about it. Okay, so we just want to spend time just like really drawing different types of cubes, cylinders, and really focusing on their projection, okay, and their different angles.
Did you bring your own pencil?
Also, if you guys feel more, when you start getting into it, you can start like cutting the cube. So remember, like we were doing yesterday, but drawing a cube and then cutting into it. So like I've done here, with different angles. So like, say I've got this and I want to cut into it to make like a ramp or something. So remember using light construction and then, then cutting back into it. Or maybe you want to cut it halfway, like I've got here. But then make sure, you're thinking about what it would look like on the other side as well. And you can also just think about like the perspective that you're drawing. So, a cube in 1 point, remember, like drawing with intention is really important. So like a cube in 1 point, it's basically a square, and then these sort of vanish to 1 point, whereas a cube in 2 point, remember you've got a 2 vanishing points. So there's going to be, this is going to, slowly start to go into the 1 vanishing point, whereas this is going to sort of go to the other. Okay, so it's just important to think about, or at least intentionally practice drawing cubes. Yeah, it's not about drawing the perfect square, it's just about like the more mileage you get, the more you learn, so don't be too precious. So like this is a really good example here, or really good exercise to do. Remember what I was talking about intention. So we have, like it's this flat sort of square, but there, and then it's tilting ever so slightly. So I'm forcing myself to think about how this thing is moving around. Does that make sense? So it's like, it's shifting around. Whereas the same here, we've got this box. It looks like it's falling out the sky. So I'm forcing myself to think about how would this fall. Okay, so the top plane is slowly starting to appear more, and the bottom one, so this plane here, is slowly starting to fade away. So I think I want you guys to do this and just think, like do a box or a cube. It's the easiest thing, and just think about how, like with intention, try and make it move around. Okay, so from one step to the other, how would it get there? Same with ellipses. So ellipses are really hard to draw, but from the side it might look like that, and it gradually faces you. So it's basically, this whole lesson is more just about thinking in 3D and how to think in 3D. Okay, cool, guys. Let's move on to the next exercise. So now, from here, we are. I want you guys to. Okay, I want you guys to first spend a little bit of time just drawing. I don't know if you guys have drawn cones as well. So just putting a dot in, and then darkening these. So just drawing cones, from different angles as well. This is really helpful. I don't know if you watched that. If you guys that watched that video, it's really helpful for drawing ellipses as well. So like, let's say this cone was facing towards me. Like I said before, I need to understand its, like 3-dimensional nature. So now, that cone is facing towards me. Whereas if it's facing away, I need to still be able to see that, in my mind as well. And we can use darkening to show that. Okay, so like, because I darken here, we can see that it's facing this way, and then this one, that's facing that way. Okay, so you guys can spend some time drawing those, and then spheres are good to draw as well. And it just looks like a circle, but this is where we can slowly start getting into wireframing. So wireframing is just, and especially with more organic objects. So with a sphere, putting almost literally like a wireframe around it helps us to see its 3-dimensional nature. And I'll just demo this quickly as well while we're here talking about organic objects. Let's say I have this pair like this, and I have 2 of them. Okay, just by wireframing, I can showcase like which direction the pair is facing. I'm thinking about like what its three-dimensional nature might look like. I can put dotted lines like that, and it almost looks like this pair is facing away. Whereas if I take the same shape and I put the contour lines going like this, that means that pair, it almost looks like it's facing up. So we can do the same. We can take the same object, same organic object, and because we understand, that wireframing allows us to show some three-dimensionality to it, it's easy to like manipulate the form. And this is where drawing with intention really, really helps. Okay, so I'm putting wireframe around it like that. Okay, so we can also spend some time. I want you guys to spend some time doing that as well. I'm gonna leave you guys to do that for a bit, and then just to practice the exercise, and then we can get into combining primitives together. Okay, so really just practice these organic objects first. Like first do a few spheres, like do basic wireframing around it, and then a few cones as well. Okay, so now that we've learned what we've learned so far, I want you guys to start combining primitives together. So where's the example I have here? Doing things sort of like this. So like taking a sphere, and like a cylinder, kind of combining them together, or maybe taking a cylinder and you want to take like a cube that's like cut in half, cut diagonally and combine them together, or like a few cylinders in different sizes together. Like these are all cylinders, 4 cylinders, but they're just different shapes and different sizes combined together, just to create something interesting. Here, like 4 cubes kind of combined together, and you can sort of think, it can be just like random construction, like I've got over here. This is sort of just random general construction. There's not actually much sense to it, but you can, you can think about like what it actually is. But I think if you just start off, like applying what you've learned, like let's do something random here, but I just want you guys to spend the rest of just up until the break just taking primitives and sort of like combining them together, and really using, like pressing light, but also using dark, being able to press dark when you want to define things so it's clear how the thing is constructed. Okay, so like maybe something like this. This is just like 2 cubes. Like maybe this could turn into a pillar, maybe this is like this, and then it kind of goes at an angle down there. Maybe that angle actually comes straight out. So really just like drawing with construction, and just like thinking about how, like what's happening. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe there's cylinders like popping out here, 2 cylinders, something like that. And then maybe you can see them on the other side. You can just see them poking out there. Okay. Or you can, like I was doing the piping system or something, like maybe this is like a pipe or something. Or maybe, maybe we've got like a flat plane here, and then it's an angle like this, and there's another one sort of sticking out. So basically what I'm saying is, like, you can get, now that you've learned this, you can sort of get creative with it, and like kind of, I don't know, like sort of just use what you've learned to move yourself forward. Okay, so the reason why we do all of these is so that when you get into sketching, like when you're sketching actual ideas for things, you sort of have an understanding of how to combine objects together. If it looks overwhelming, just start with a cube. Okay, so draw the 1 first, and then then you draw the other one. So you draw the other one that's maybe like how that one's piecing onto that one. You can start off literally by just drawing like a few cubes, and then almost as if you're drawing like a staircase or something. So it's basically the act of just kind of like combining the primitives together. Okay. So I want you guys to just spend the rest of the class up until 7 just combining primitives together. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we can just see the primitives that are happening here. Like, these are very rough sketches, and notice how there's a lot of different ideas going on, but the understanding of construction is really good. So the next exercise after the simple object one is to take something that's a bit more complex. So there's like cubes going on here, there's like a half dome going on like this, or we could do something like this. This is quite a cool one. It's basically everything in here is basically just cylinders. So we're just looking at this cylindrical object, and then there's another cylindrical object, then there's these long cylinders, and then another sort of torus cylinder on top. Okay, so so we're taking like a little bit more complex geometry. This one, and again, it's basically just a dome, and then there's like a sphere that's been cut in half. But like if you didn't have the knowledge of how to piece together primitives, it would be like you wouldn't know how to start this. Okay. This is also quite cool, like a windmill maybe, something like this. A well, something just like, okay, so this is like a pyramid thing on top of a cylinder, and there's like cylinder, cylinder, cylinder. So it's just important for you to start paying attention to like what the primitives are and how you can start, like how you can start building them, and then start adding detail. So put down the primitives first, and then we can start adding detail. Okay, this is also relatively simple, but yeah, so that's kind of the last exercise.